I'm Eurocentric and you're watching News 24 Live. Now I'm joined in studio by Kumani Makwele, and if he looks very familiar to you, that's because he's spent a significant amount of time on the front pages of many newspapers, especially here in the Western Cape. He was a part of the group who threw human feces on a statue of Cecil John Rhodes at UCT. He's joining us in studio to speak about the protest and what his group and many UCT students hope to accomplish. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Now, won't you start us off by explaining what was the purpose of the protest?
Well, the purpose of the protest is simply that UCT as an institution is deeply untransformed, deeply racist. And we felt as students that as part of the dialogue and discourse that have been taking place in campus, that we have not reached a point where we can agree. Now, the statue of Cecil John Rhodes became the thing for me that represented a Eurocentric narrow-mindedness of racism, okay, and imperialistic viewpoint and colonialistic viewpoint, you know. Now, we felt that given the history of Rhodes himself, you know, as a brutal, racist killer who killed black people, who murdered black people in Zimbabwe, together with Jameson, Dr. Jameson, whom UCT Hall is named after him, you know. Now, UCT is struggling with its face. In fact, we are agreeing with Dr. Max Price when he says that black people in UCT are not feeling comfortable.
So we know that when we were on the ground at UCT when the protest was happening, we spoke to many black and white students who described to us that the statue is really a rallying point around the bigger issue of transformation at UCT.
True.
We're not simply asking for the statue to be taken down, they said. We need the institutionalized racism at UCT to be dealt with. So I want you to talk us through how you're experiencing this institutionalized racism. Is it in the form of a disproportionate number of lecturers? Is it in the way that black and white students are treated? If you could potentially or possibly just give us a couple of examples.
Well, I mean, we've got a history here. And then our punchline is on 1960s when A.C. Jordan, Professor A.C. Jordan, was forced to live in Langa in the township, you know, purely because he was black. And then there's an incident of Professor Mafeje, you know. Mafeje was appointed at UCT as a professor. And then a month later, the apartheid government forced the University of Cape Town to expel him. And then indeed, the University of Cape Town expelled him. We've got the case of Professor Mamdane, you know, who was appointed in African Studies at UCT, and then he immediately tried to Africanize the curriculum, you know, and then he was forced out of the university, you know. Now, the arrival of Professor Xolamancu, immediately 2 years ago, he immediately saw the atmosphere of the university that is very Eurocentric. I mean, even you walk in UCT, you see, like, by and large, white students are taking predominantly the huge space, you know. And then you ask yourself, are you in Europe or are you in London or something like that, you know? And then for us as students, this has been there, you know. Last year, 19 black academics put it very clear. They contradicted the stand of the university in terms of the transformation, you know. Now, of course, the institutional racism in South African context is no longer the apartheid racism, clear cut, is there in front of your face. But it has a particular nuance, you know. It's very subtle, you know. But of course, the recent incidents, race incident, you know, that took place in Claremont, where a white student from our university who peed at the head of a black man, you know, and then the only response when he was asked why is he doing that, he said that I'm rich, you're poor.